Imagine a space for South Asian women where stories are not just told, but actually felt. This is Rue, Rising Over Obstacles and Healing, brought to you by Jyoti and Monica, two friends who set out to carve a little space and make a difference by sharing stories and fostering healing and strength within our community. We invite you to listen and reflect, finding your own path one story at a time. And just for sticking around, there's a golden biscuit at the end of each episode.
And so my dad literally, I remember, came up to my room, like broke down the door basically and was like, "Je tu mere ghar vich rehna hai, tu eh munde naal kade nahi gal kar sakdi, tu bahar nahi ja sakdi, this and that, blah, 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 blah." And I looked at him and I was like, "Okay, fine, nahi main thode ghar ch rehna." And he pretty much kicked me out that day. And so the guy that I was seeing, let's just say, I don't know, I'm going to make up a name. His name is John.
Hispanic John.
Hispanic John. I call him up and like I tell him, hey, you know, my dad is like kicking me out, whatever. And so he literally pulls up to my house and was like, "Okay, cool, I got you, don't worry." And in my head, I'm like, all right, whatever, he's coming to get me. This must be love. Like, here's my Shah Rukh Khan coming to, you know, get me. Rescue me, my other knight in shining armor. And so I gather my things. I have my son with me. We go to his parents' house. He is from a very strict born again Christian household.
Got it.
And he was also still in college and still living with his parents and his two sisters. And so when we pull up to his house, his parents were like, "All right, you cool, you rescued your girlfriend out of a crazy situation, but we're Christian, and so you guys cannot live here together." Like, what do you, right? But I'm not working, or I was only working like part-time because I just finished graduating college. I hadn't found anything yet. And he's still like figuring out his stuff. And so we're like, oh shoot, what do we do? And so his parents were like, well, if you want to continue to live here under our roof, then you guys have to get married. And so what did we do?
You got married.
We got married.
Interestingly enough, this is another sort of a forced marriage.
Yeah, right. Because I honestly, hindsight, I had no business. Like, neither one of us should have been getting married at that point. That should have not been a thing. But for whatever reason, that relationship, it also had its ups and downs. And we also had a lot of financial struggle because, again, we were very young and still trying to like figure out financially like what we were going to do. And so we were just barely getting by. And then there was also a lot of tension from his family where his sisters were very like vocal, and then his own parents started going through a divorce. And so it got really messy and ugly in the house, and everyone was fighting with everyone. And I just didn't want my son to be in that space anymore or have to like be dragged through the mud because of me. And so I had, at this point, my parents are like pretty much not talking to me.
I was wondering what happened.
Zero contact.
Yeah.
Zero contact. But my mom would, being a mom, right? Like once in a while, like reach out, and I would speak to her here and there. And so I was speaking to her a little bit more at this point. And because they were so attached to my son, obviously, like it was almost like divorced parents. Like we would have visitation days. Right? So like I would like go and drop my son off, but I would have to do it when my dad wasn't around because my dad did not want any parts of me. He didn't want to see me, speak to me. Like he did not want to know about my existence.
That's unfortunate. When it's time to hug your child closer, to recognize that your child needs your love and support, here's father pushing you away instead.
And I think that like impacted me significantly, right? Like it didn't register in my brain, but for so many years, I think like I would try to do everything in my power to get my dad's approval. Like even subconsciously. And it was always like, I want my dad to see me for so many years. And so at this point, because things are getting really ugly in the house that I'm living with and with my current husband, I ended up kind of setting up with my mom, like, all right, I'm gonna bring Tiger back to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You guys will have him, and then I'll come to take him on the weekends.
Mm.
I wanted him to be like in a good, stable home, like
Yeah.
financially strong. You know, he
Yeah.
was getting to the age of where he had to start school and stuff like that. So I brought him back to my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and he started living with them, and I would see him on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of the years just went by like that for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my husband, we went, cliff notes, like we went through some stuff with his family and had a bunch of falling outs, and that turmoil also impacted him, and like the financial stuff was always like an issue between us. And
Mm-hmm.
even though he was a nice guy, I think his circumstances probably brought out the
The
ugly
worst
in
in him?
him.
Yeah.
Yes. And so at this point we're, I think we're like 7 or 8, maybe even 10 years married.
Oh, wow.
Like, the timeline is a blur at this point,
Yeah.
but it's definitely been a few years since we've been married and had moved out of the house, and we're living by ourselves in this really nice apartment that I honestly, because of our financial situation, I don't even know how we were affording it.
Mm-hmm.
It was really bad.
Mm.
And that's when, like, I was starting to reconnect and rekindle with my mom and my brother. I would see them more often. My dad was starting to get a little bit warmer,
Mm-hmm.
but it warmer to the sense of like, okay, this is my daughter. She's made stupid decisions and embarrassed me in society,
Mm.
but she's here. And so it was like, she's allowed into the house, but the guy that she married cannot come within 50 feet of my house.
Mm. I'm sure that didn't help whatever differences were
No,
going on in your marriage.
exactly.
Mm.
And because I was so wanting that connection again with my family, I guess at some point I was either not spending too much time, but like it was never a second thought to me, like, okay, I'm gonna go see my parents' house, see you later, bye. And I never like
Mm.
considered his feelings or how that made him feel.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm sure that didn't feel good for him,
Right,
because you're going to your house and he's not allowed. And he's done nothing wrong.
right,
Like you said, he's a good guy. He's family-oriented guy. He did right by
right.
you.
He was very family oriented, and I think because his family kind of fell apart, I think he was also looking for that.
Yeah,
But now he's also getting rejection from my side of the family, right?
yeah.
So during this time, we started preparing for my brother's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, this is like that moment where I get to relive like
Yeah,
that kind of dream wedding that I had hoped for myself. So I
yeah.
knew that I really wanted to be part of this and the planning and the festivities. And it was like a way to like win my dad's heart again, almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we were doing all these things. I was gone for almost like 3 months, I would say, because like the first few weeks, we like my sister-in-law is from California. And so we had like an engagement party out there and we all gathered. So I was gone for that. And then shortly after I came back from there, then me, my mom, and my to-be sister-in-law, we all went to India for like 5, 6 weeks to do the wedding shopping.
Mm.
And then we come back from India and then, we're like preparing the house and the planning and everything. And so I was practically staying at my parents' house again.
And he's by himself all this
And he's by
time. And he's not
himself,
part of any of it.
any of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's again, still didn't register to me. To me, I'm just happy that I'm able to be
Reconnecting with your
with my
family.
family.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about it from his perspective. And so I think it's at this point when things like really started falling apart. And, fast forward a few years later, I found out he started cheating on me,
Mm.
right? Which, like we hear, happens often when you start neglecting your partner.
Yeah. It's unfortunate because he sounds like he was a good guy. And I'm not justifying what he did, but when you're neglected for so long, you're not able to make sound decisions, right? Because your emotions kick in and, you start doing things that you wouldn't if you were otherwise in a healthy place.
Yeah. But even that marriage kind of like falling apart, and I was beyond devastated, right? Because here I am, second marriage, and this time it's the guy that I picked. It's the guy that I went against my family for. I had left the community again, right? Like I was not immersed in the Punjabi community. No one knew where I was.
Yeah.
I had to break away from the circle again. And it was a lot for me. And I, again, was trying to like cling on to something that was toxic and not good. Like, I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version, but even throughout the marriage itself, there were definitely a lot of I guess like they say that once you attract something, you kind of keep going back to it, right? So even though he was an overall general good guy, but the physical and verbal abuse was also there in this relationship as well. Like I experienced it because his rages and his anger were so intense that it would turn into physical at times.
Oh, you did mention, I'm sorry, I think at the beginning when you talked about him, you did mention that he had an anger problem. And this was physical as well. And even at this point, you didn't think to report him or to...
I couldn't, right? Here I am making a decision to be with this man, leaving my family. I didn't think I was in the right to be like, Mom, Dad, I'm in a bad place.
This is another one of those things where our parents, they just close that door. And it does so much harm. It does so much harm for everyone. It's not like they're any happier by doing that. It's not like by cutting off communication with you, they forgot you or anything like that. I'm sure you were always at the forefront of their minds, but now this situation is made worse because you can't go to them and have this relationship and get the advice that you need or support that you need. But I just want to say to anyone that's listening, it's any kind of abuse, whether it's verbal or physical, is just not okay. And I think, it's important to reach out to let someone know nobody deserves it. So the marriage, obviously, it fell apart. And then at that point, were you back with your parents?
Yeah, when the marriage was falling apart, I was in really bad shape again, Jyoti. Like, I think it kind of reinforced that feeling of like, I'm not good enough for anyone, right? And that's kind of been like one of my biggest struggles throughout life, that I always feel like I'm just not good enough. And so it started reinforcing all of that insecurities and so I went through suicidal moments again. Like at one point I even did try to overdose and try to take my life because I was just so exhausted.
I'm so sorry.
The divorce was like a lot. I feel like I always find myself in these like very intense moments and I'm always by myself.
Yeah, because you can't go to your parents and whatever, your friends that you had that would truly understand. I feel like a lot of times those are friends that you've had for many, many years, but because you've kind of removed yourself from that circle in society, you don't have those friends anymore. So a lot of times, like, new friendships are very superficial. It's not like you can bare your soul.
Rely on it. Yeah. And they wouldn't understand the
cultural context,
the weight of really, how it's impacting. So that took a while for me to like rebuild myself back up from that. But yeah, we separated at first. And I kept wanting it to work because again, I didn't want to be in a failed scenario again. And just trying to hold on to whatever version of love I could get. But I think him and this girl were already like, I don't know how long they had been seeing each other for, and whatever that relationship looked like, I guess he was happy in it, and he wasn't coming back around. And then it was actually at this point in my life where I think I spiritually started like being curious and, say why. And ask questions like, why me? Why does this keep happening? Why do bad things keep happening to me? I'm such a good person. Like, I never hurt anyone. I've never hurt my parents' feelings. I do everything that they want me to do. So why do bad things keep happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
And since he was Christian and I had been, I wasn't going to go there, obviously, but I had been going to church with him and his family was pretty involved in church. So I kind of, had like heard teachings. I hadn't converted or anything, but I think it was at this point that my curiosity started peaking. And I was like, all right, well, in the Christian church, they teach having a personal relationship with God, right? Where you're having a one-on-one. There's not like a middleman, right? Like in Catholicism, they'll talk about like the priest, or like in our situation, Sikhism, it's like the granthis, right? Like the granthis do part, or whoever
But
is wise enough.
But even in Sikhi, we're meant to have a personal relationship with.
Right. But that's not how it was shown to me, right? Being raised.
Yeah.
It was more just like the rituals were kind of pushed on to me, right? It was like, do part, because if you don't do part, then upap laguga, or you're not going to get the blessings. But there was never a moment in time where like, okay, a particular part was explained to me, or like I understood the significance of it, or like any of that, right? And my parents had the Guru Granth Sahib in the house, and my mom would, daily do seva and stuff like that. And I would do like seva in Babaji's room, but I never understood why.
Yeah.
I never understood the words. I just knew that I had to do it because there's this big God looking up above me, and if I don't, then, he's going to punish me. But in Christianity, it was like, yeah, here's this big God, and we do bad things, but then that's why Jesus came and died on the cross, so that you could be forgiven and you're now whole with God, right? Again, me being very impressionable and very naive and just kind of like hope wherever I could get hope. As I was at this moment in time that I started diving into the Bible, and I started questioning even the faith that I was raised in versus the faith that I had been witnessing. And so I would just cry on my knees praying, and I would be like, God, Jesus, if you're real, like show me how real you are, because why do all of these things keep happening to me? And, somewhere along those lines, I started finding some level of peace and like working my value and my worth and my self-respect a little bit.
Yeah.
And so then that was when I decided, like, okay, you're not coming back around. You clearly cheated on me. So you stepped out of line in the relationship, regardless of what was happening, instead of just coming to me and sharing.
Yeah.
And at this point, I kind of like finally did a outer body experience where like I zoomed myself out and was like, wait a minute, was this guy ever really good enough for me? Right?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, when I just saw like, oh, actually, in a perfect scenario, this wouldn't have been my it guy.
Yeah. You just settled for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I actually initiated and filed for the divorce.
Good for you.
And yeah. And then it's funny enough at this point when I'm like finally picking up the pieces and like, all right, go Sandeep, hoorah, I'm a baddie. Like I could have gone where, and then also, they say that when you're like working on yourself and you're like doing the self work and whatever, like somehow guys can just sniff that out. I'm being serious. I don't know if you've heard, right? It's like a thing. And so I used to get like, I'd go, and I'm working like corporate America at this point. Like I have a full-fledged job, and I would go into the office and I would go to like happy hours with my coworkers, and like just random guys like hitting on me. And it felt nice.
Yeah.
It felt good. Maybe should I have continued to do like some self-healing work and all of that? Absolutely. But I was experiencing this. I was feeling myself and I was like, yeah, I don't need you anymore. And that's when he like apparently broke it off with the girl and then wanted to like try to work it back out with me. But at this point, I'm already like,
you're done.
No, bro, you're done. Like you should have actually never been in the picture.
Yeah.
I gave you a chance. You absolutely blew it.
Yeah.
Like it's time to move on. Yeah, and we filed for divorce. I will say this, though, he did have a very nice relationship with my son. For me, that's always been very important, is who's ever in my life needs to like love my son. And if you don't, there's the door.
Yeah.
And so he had a really great relationship with my son, and even to the very end, like the last day after we had signed the papers and stuff, and he was actually moving out of state, he decided to like really pick up and try to rebuild life elsewhere. And so he wanted to come and just say goodbye. And he specifically asked me to bring my son. And he just stood there hugging my son, crying.
So there was something in this guy.
Yeah.
I think people come in your life for a reason. You often hear this saying that what doesn't break you makes you. And I feel like both of these guys, they came into your life and you experienced all this trauma. But in experiencing that, you were getting made stronger.
Yeah.
It's almost like you were going through this experience because you had to be strong. God's trying to show you like what you're made of, the resilience, the strength that you have, you know, and there's definitely, like you were saying, people can pick up on that energy when you feel confident and you are happy with who you are as a person. Nobody has the audacity to put you down.
Yeah.
If they see that, it's always, sadly, it's human nature to, you know, people always pick on the weak ones.
Take advantage.
They take advantage, right? But when they see that you yourself, you're confident, you know your self-worth, you're not taking shit from anybody. That's almost the time when nobody gives you shit. Because they know you're not taking it.
It's not gonna get away with it.
Exactly. And I feel like, you know, after going through this, that's the point you got to.
Yeah, yes, to an extent. You know, at this point I had done more so like the spiritual, like I was more connected to God, right? So that brought me a level of like peace and hope, but I wasn't really doing the actual inner work to heal the wounds or to really look at my trauma and see how all of this trauma had impacted me or like programmed my mind, and what are these thoughts that are coming through that are not really me. It's what was told to me, right? From like stuff that my parents had told me when I was a kid and how to act and behave and be a goody two-shoe girl, to when I was in the arranged marriage, to being with this guy. I never really got to sit with myself. And what is Sandeep? Like, who is she really? Right? What does she have to offer to the world? Like, what is my light? If I'm honest with myself, I'd say that I'm still trying to figure that out. And my work on that has only intensified over I would say, like last 2 years, Jyoti. Like, sadly, honestly, I don't know. That's an ongoing journey.
It is. And there's no time limit.
No, you're right. There isn't. But you start seeing the impacts and the effects that it has around your life in general, right? Around you, if you don't do the work. Because fast forward, that relationship ended and I'm now in my third relationship. And as I was at that time dating in that next relationship, I constantly would get told, you're carrying so much baggage. You're bringing all of your bullshit baggage from your past relationships into this.
And it's hard not
healed.
to.
I had not healed. I had not released. I had not processed. I was just, because I was just at this point, I was just constantly looking for love. I just wanted someone to look at me and see me for kind of like all the good things that I had done.
Yeah.
Which sadly, like, life doesn't work like that. No one is gonna be like, oh, you're a good person, so here, let me give you all of these good person coins, right? Or all of these gold stars. Life doesn't work like that. And that's kind of what I kept hoping. Like, if someone just loves me, then that means that I'm worthy enough. If someone just shows up and looks my way and says nice things to me, then they're seeing my goodness.
So you've been through a lot with both of these relationships. I feel like each one must have had something that it taught you. Reflecting back now, do you feel like there are any lessons that you learned from these relationships that you would apply now or would want others in that situation to apply?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest lessons, and that I feel like something that we need to always advocate is that when you're ending a relationship or coming out of a relationship, really like stop and pause and take the time to focus on yourself and do the healing work. I think in today's society, or well, probably for eons, we're always told that whatever happens in your life, it's like the other person's fault, right? Or we're always quick to be like, oh, this is your fault. You did this to me. But realistically, on a conscience level, what's really happening is that all of these people are just players, right? And they're mirrors to you to reflect on yourself. And so it's always about the inner work. It's always about the self-awareness. It's always about, yes, this person is triggering me or causing this trigger inside of me, but why am I being triggered? Why is this behavior of theirs or these words of theirs hurting me? What's inside of me that hasn't been kind of uncovered? Or what is that root thought? And I wish I would have had, someone to have these kinds of conversations with me, or one, well, even initially to just comfort me, right? And tell me like it's okay. I don't think anyone ever really acknowledged that what I had gone through was so intense. I don't think I've ever got the acknowledgement. I don't think it was until recently that my mom actually apologized to me and said, sorry, we made a lot of mistakes with you. My dad still hasn't. And I don't think my parents are bad parents. My parents are great parents. They gave me everything that I could have wanted as a kid, and they went above and beyond. And, my dad was very hardworking and built an amazing career for himself and a name for himself in our community. And is someone that people rely on and depend on, and they know that they can, trust my dad. The same thing for my mom. Like, my mom is a great person. I just think that they made decisions also based off of what they knew or they thought was best, right? Because even their decision making, again, will only go as far as how they were raised or what they were taught.
And a large component of that is also governed by what people would say. It comes back to we have to be a certain way. People have to perceive our family life a certain way. And it's almost like not just your parents, a lot of South Asian parents are very concerned about what the society thinks of them, how they come across to society. I don't know
100%.
if it goes back to the medieval days where you had to appear strong and you had to, it's so deeply rooted that we're so afraid to show any weaknesses to society.
Yeah. And I think this just goes back and speaks to the work that you're doing here in Rue, right? Like, you've created this space and you're opening up these conversations and you're making room for people to come and talk about things that they've gone through. And it's great that you're doing this with women, because I think women probably are more oppressed and, we maybe deal with a lot more. I don't know how fair that statement is. But on the other end, also South Asian men, right? Like our dads, uncles, and everyone, they're not allowed to speak up. I think men in general, right? You can't, you're weak if you express emotion or show emotion. And so if there could be a space similar where like our dads and our uncles could talk about things that they've gone through, how much healing that would bring
absolutely.
to us as a collective. But sadly, it's just not normal. And where it always goes back to Lokiki Gangir, what are other people going to think, or is me and my family going to be perceived? Or, what does my leadership look like, right? Like, I'm sure my dad probably felt like he, as a leader, let us down because of how things played out. Is he able to look in the mirror and accept that, like, I took my daughter through this? Probably not. And I don't think I'm ever waiting for that apology from my dad. Me and my dad have a great relationship right now. He is like my homie. Me and him spend a lot of, we even work together. I spend a lot of time with him. And if you would have told me 20 years ago that I would have this kind of relationship with my dad, I wouldn't believe you. And I know he loves me a lot. You know, the man, like, materialistically can never say no to me. I could be like, I want to go here. I want to do this. I want that. And he puts it on a silver platter for me. I don't know if that's his way of maybe overcompensating, you know, for the things that he's done. But I would just really say the biggest lesson is to really pause and work on yourself and truly heal yourself and process the emotions. You know, one of the things, or like my life's goal, is to try to be like that big sister for other girls, especially young girls that are going through some sort of version of my story. Because I didn't have anyone. I didn't have anyone advocating for me. I didn't have anyone that I could talk to, that I could share, open up with. And I want to be that person.
That's one of the things you want to do, is be a big sister, be that person.
You know, and in being that big sister, like, I would really want to help that person heal and release that baggage. And so even sometimes, like, when I meet certain girls, young girls now, that are going through some sort of version of my story, and I don't, I don't share with them like my full story, but I'll be like, oh, I know what you're going through and experiencing. Recently I had some girl that was telling me that she's going through some stuff, and she was like, oh, but I'm gonna be strong. And I tell myself, you give yourself like 2 days and you cry, and then you got to be strong. And I told her, it's not just about the strength part. It's about because the strength part is suppression. What you're doing is, oh, I have to be strong. I have to get it together. I have to keep pushing through. You're just suppressing the emotions, but the emotions still sit and they linger. And then they start having, physical, emotional sort of impacts within you. It starts showing up in your body. Like in my case, I've had emotional stuff that has now turned into physical ailments because I never worked through the emotional part of it. And no one teaches you that or explains it to you. And that's so important. So that, and I told this girl, like, okay, don't just be strong. Yes, you have to be strong. I get it. Totally get it. But it's okay to have weak moments and cry, but then take that, like, literally process your emotion and release it. Like, you have to learn to transmute the negative energy, right? Because that's what's happening inside of you, really. So find that positive and then let it go. That's really the moving on part. That's really the healing part. And I'm trying to do that for myself even now. Like, I'm still carrying a lot of that. There's still a lot of questions that I have. I look in the mirror and I still struggle to see the person that, a lot of people tell me that they see when they meet me, which is sad. I'm 44 years old and I still don't realize
you have a
how
lot
much I
to
have
offer. Seriously, you have such a beautiful soul, and you're a beautiful person, like, inside and out. And I already told you your sense of style. I mean, if nothing else, you're inspiring people to just dress better, because taking joy in, from what I've seen of you on social media. I love seeing, like, your trips, your travels, and all the beautiful outfits that you're wearing.
You.
And it's even, I'm just making light of the situation, but you're showing, without even really revealing what's inside, you're still showing people, like, what a beautiful life people can have.
You said that so well. I would hope so. I think sometimes I don't really take inventory of everything that I've gone through because, again, you're just taught to, like, get up and keep it moving. And that's kind of been my life's theme. Like, things just keep popping up and I'm just like, all right, gotta figure this out. Right? Gotta push through. But it's moments like this that I can actually look back and go, oh, shoot, I've done a lot. And, and as I've been, like, going through my life struggles and my challenges, and I've mentioned this a few times, right, throughout, that I would always be like, God, why me? why me? I'm such a good girl. I do all of these great things. I'm so helping and loving to everyone. Why me? Why not that person who did X, Y, and Z? But look at them living like their best life, right? And that used to be, that's kind of like the, we talk about it all the time, like the victim mindset, right? I never saw it as such or like labeled it that I had the victim mindset. But now I realize, like, no, I kind of am like giving away my power and acting powerless when I say that. And when I look at my life and I see who it's made me into and the person that I've become because of those situations, right? Like I always say that I went on like an accelerated program where I lived. I've lived like all of these lives, like when I was in my 20s,
the
I was already like a
responsibilities and
40-something-year-old,
everything.
right? Like, yeah, and all of that. And so I kind of paused, and now my response is more,
I love
thank you,
that.
me, right? It's no longer why me. It's thank you that you chose me, that you felt like it was an honor that you felt that I was brave enough and strong enough to take on this challenge and survive through. How I survived through, I don't know, girl.
Yeah. I love this mindset though.
But for me, it was always God. Like God has always, for me, been a big part of everything. Like I don't think, like I said, my mom raised me to do Bhat all the time. And so it was already engraved in me. And like my spirituality has evolved over the years. I'm doing more deep diving into that and how everything kind of connects. But God is always, it was always like I had these angels around me and Vaiguru watching and just like some sort of way guiding my steps to get me to this point. So now I do look around in life and go, wow, it was a hard journey, but it was a beautiful journey, and I am grateful for it. And I actually would not change
That's
anything about it.
amazing to hear you say that, to have gone through what you've gone through and then to still come out and say that you wouldn't change anything. That shows that you've learned to really appreciate all the adversities and everything that you went through, and you're kind of seeing the silver lining.
Because these situations actually have given me so much perspective. Like when you really live life and go through life's experiences is really when you can get perspective and actually connect with people. I feel like it's easy for me to be sympathetic to someone because I've gone through my struggles may not look anything like theirs, or my trauma might not look anything like theirs. And, we should never compare what each one of us goes through because, like they say, God only gives you as much as you can handle.
Yeah.
But this has allowed me this perspective to understand, to feel, to resonate. Like sometimes I look at some people and I'll be like sharing something and they'll just be like, oh yeah, I feel you. And I'm looking at them like, do you though? Like, right? Like, is that even an authentic, I
it's
feel
more
you?
like they're sort of, it's in one ear, out the other. And it's like, well, this is the appropriate thing to say, kind of.
Yeah. It's just a PC thing to say.
I know. But I think the fact that you're sitting here today, you're sharing this for others, means that you've kind of transformed your pain into purpose, right? And that's an inspiration because like the healing journey that you're going through, I think it's already just helping other women realize they're not alone in whatever situation they're going through. Just hearing you talk about your journey is helping so many people. And I love what you had said about wanting to be the big sister and helping girls who may be going through something that's challenging. Maybe it's not the same thing you went through, but healing is a path that I think you can bring other people on and show the way. Healing will look different for everyone, but at least in hearing you share your experience, they know it's possible.
Yes. The one other lesson that I kind of want to emphasize really, I kept saying that I was waiting for like my knight in shining armor, because that's what we're told as girls, and especially as Desi girls, right? To like escape from our chaotic home life that kind of we're raised in. And throughout my journey too, now that I'm realizing, doing all of the work, that in anybody's life, no one is actually meant to be your hero. We were created to go on our own self-hero journey. We are meant
Yes.
to be
Yes.
heroes for ourselves. And I can't emphasize that enough. And it took me forever.
I always say, this is something like I tell my friends, anyone that I speak to, I always say, you are in charge of your own happiness. You cannot pin this responsibility on anyone else. So, whether you're going through a difficult time in a relationship or whatever it is, you have to make yourself happy. The other person cannot possibly know what it is that would make you happy. Sometimes we don't know ourselves, our mind changes so often, right?
Right.
And it's kind of unfair to pin your happiness onto someone else.
Yeah, and that's also pressure for them. Like, imagine carrying that burden, but we don't think about that.
We have to take care of ourselves, and we have to do what makes us happy and not feel guilty about it. Because that's the other thing in our culture, is that when you start to do self-care and you start to, look after yourself, a lot of times in our culture, that's seen as, oh, she's being vain, or she's neglecting her household responsibilities and she's just all about herself. I'm sorry, but you should be about yourself, like you make yourself happy and then you show up as a better person for everybody else in your life.
But this is all like tied together, right, to what you're saying. Like the foundation and the basis of everything and anything we do is what are other people going to think, right? So even the self-care, like you can't even think about that, because why are you being selfish? Like you can't be selfish. It's always got to be about everyone else but ourselves.
Yes.
And that's what's constantly pushed in our culture.
Yes.
But I think that's changing, right? With like our generation and the new generations to come, they're making it a point to find their happiness, do the things that make them happy. And I think a lot of us are also in us finally like living out our lives, are actually transitioning our parents to see that there is this other possibility. We can make different choices and different decisions and enjoy life and live life for ourselves. Because you see so many like, and I'm sure you come across this too, right? Where like you'll see aunties or whatever, and they're like gonna go have champagne at brunch with like their daughters and their, other girlfriends. Like that's like unheard of, but you see the smiles on their face just by them sitting around in the middle of the afternoon at a restaurant. Whereas before it's like, no, बढ़िया तरी restaurant जा सकते हैं, तुसी करे लो. And असी बंदे चले हैं बाहर पीने वास्ते, right?
Yeah.
Like something as small as that, but they're starting to see it like, oh, okay, no, we can do this differently and still be part of the culture.
Sandeep, I cannot thank you enough for coming on, for your raw, honest account of everything that's happened to you. I know that it took immense courage. It's not easy to be vulnerable and to bear it all. Thank you for choosing Rue to tell your story. And thank you for inspiring countless, countless women through what you've shared. And I just wish you all the best. I wish you happiness. I wish the butterflies, the rainbows, all of this and so much more for you. Thank you so much for coming on. And as the golden biscuit, what I would like to know is, if you were to talk to the 20-year-old Sandeep, if you were to go back in time and she's sitting there and she's looking at those stars and the moon, what would you tell her?
I would tell her that her journey is not one of weakness, and that it's actually a journey of strength, and that she doesn't need to stay quiet or stay hiding, because her telling her story is where she will find the strength. That is where the power lies, right? Not in being silent and just continuing to move through life, hoping that no one finds out. And that she is so strong, and that she's been chosen for an amazing sort of mission. and an amazing purpose to be a big sister for other girls that will go through the same. And so her pain is worth it in the end.
I admire your strength and your courage, and I don't take this lightly that you've chosen to share this story. It's not just a story, it's your life. And the lessons that you've learned along the way, you've passed them on to everyone that's heard your story. And I'm forever grateful. Thank you for listening to Rue. We appreciate you joining us as we cultivate a community of strong, empowered women, one story at a time. If you or someone you know has a story you'd like to share, please contact us at roohdaraz@gmail.com. That's ROOHDARAAZ@gmail.com. Also, do us a favor and please share this podcast with your sisters, your mom, your friends, aunties, your eyebrow lady, like any lady you know. You get the idea. Till next time, Kush raho, be well.